What's up, everybody? Unrested here on an ugly day in the neighborhood. Rainy, yucky, cold, windy, disgusting day. Our days of good weather are gone. Winter is soon approaching. Winter is coming. So, thinking about some videos for the future. Recently been talking a lot about video games, as I'm sure some of you have noticed. I always get positive feedback on those. I think it tends to be the crowd that is into Japan that is also into video games, due to the fact that many of the world's greatest video games come from this country and influence a lot of what people think about Japan. And that's fine. I have nothing wrong with that. That's true. And like I just reported in one of my old videos, well, my video yesterday, that's not that old, Shenmue was a huge influence for me. And even now in Japan, Yakuza 2, 3 and 4 in, I think there is 5 now, the Edo era one, they all came out while I was in Japan. And even while I live in Japan, like I've been here a while, everything's kind of old school for me. I still like to pick those games up and play them, and I still really enjoy areas that I visited. For example, one of them's based in Okinawa, and that's where I went on my honeymoon when I got married. And obviously I don't get to see that area of Japan very often. It's been like maybe 2 years since I've been there. And I guess 1 year, because I went to Kohamajima, which I had to stop in Okinawa. But, you know, even for me, I can wax nostalgic about certain parts of Japan when I play those games. They're really, really a great recreation of those areas. When you play the Yakuza games, if any of you are wondering, like, does Japan really look like this in the game? Yeah, they do a pretty damn good job of mimicking the areas. The only complaints I ever have about that series is that, like, you can't go past areas that have taxis. Like, okay, I understand, you know, you can only go so far with a sandbox game, but sometimes that kind of pisses me off. I don't know. That's just me. Anyway, future videos. I want to talk to you about the year 2015, coming right around the corner now. We're almost there. And a few different videos that I'm starting. Of course, JFAC's already back. That's the new series that I've started back up, JFAC Reboot. But I also want to look more into video games. I don't want to necessarily do Let's Play, because that's kind of pointless, aside from the fact that maybe I can make commentary on the things that I'm playing with in the game that are similar to actual Japan. I kind of want to just do like histories, extra information, different things about the game that you might not know, background information about the companies, and smaller, lesser known facts about the games that you've probably watched reviews on before, but maybe you haven't heard the whole story. So I'd like to do reviews on games like Shenmue, Yakuza, and I'd like to do those in the sense of reviewing like actually what really exists. Like, for example, the areas in the Yakuza games have Japanese sounding names, but they're not actually really the name of the place you're in. They're mimicking a place, and there's a reason they do that. They don't want any kind of copyright infringements. You're wondering, wait, can a district or a ward office like do copyright infringement? Yes, they can in Japan, actually. So they actually change the names of the districts, the areas, the wards, and even famous places. But sometimes it's kind of weird, because companies like Daily Yamazaki will go ahead and buy a place in those games, and in their stores actually, in their places like Don Quixote will buy a place in that game, and they actually have a Don Quixote store in the game. So it's kind of a mixed bag. It's like sometimes they don't want copyright infringement, but then sometimes people pay to have their trademark in the game. So it's kind of interesting, and that's kind of stuff I want to explore. And also just talk about, like, is the structure of what they have for a Yakuza in the game actually real to life? These kind of things actually happen in the crime underworld in Japan? Because, nah, not really. Like, you know, if you go out to Harajuku or you head out to Tokyo, you're not going to find an entire underground world in the sewer system. That's not going to happen. Don't try to do that. Don't try to climb down into the sewer systems. Other things like, can you spend an entire day driving a forklift around a harbor? Yeah, probably. There's jobs like that. Leo's job in Shenmue is pretty realistic to what their life is like in the harbor and stuff, and doing jobs and stuff like out there, stacking crates, moving forklifts all over. So, I mean, yeah, there's some realistic aspects. And some of the areas in that game, too, are realistic. I'd also like to show areas of Japan that match some of the places in those games, and then I'd like to also delve into games that are lesser known, that haven't been explored too much on YouTube. For example, I have a really big time favorite Nintendo DS game that is a survival horror game. It was also made for the PS1. Not a lot of people have played it. It's called Twilight Syndrome. Twilight Syndrome is a really interesting game where you play a group of high school students pretty much daring each other to go investigate Toshi Densetsu, that means urban legends. They have everything from the Locker Baby story to Kuchisake Onna to ghosts that are on the train tracks and stuff like that, all kinds of creepy stuff, and you go to these places at nighttime, sneak in, break in, go on all kinds of different hijinks and run into some pretty scary shit, honestly. I mean, for a DS game, I remember a few times being, quite tense. So I'd like to cover a game like that. Another game is a horror game, a lesser known horror game called D. It's just called D, the letter D. There was D and there was D2. Not a lot of people have played those. D2 especially. D was not a... It wasn't a good seller, didn't sell very well, didn't do very well. But it's a game I'd like to cover. In D2, I really liked D2. And it was a pretty epic game. The ending to it is just like, God, it's like crushing. It'll like make your, humanity suffer when you watch how horrible we are at the end of that game. And I don't want to give away what exactly happens that makes you feel that way, but when I do the review, perhaps, spoiler alert, I will go ahead and show you a little bit about the ending. It's a pretty incredible game. Anyway, that's just a few things getting ready for the future. Tell me some games you'd like to see reviews on, as far as like JRPGs or Japanese, mostly only Japanese-based games. I'm not really going to delve too much into American games, Western games, unless I see some kind of link, or like I see a game like maybe it was made in America and they tried to do Japanese things and it's totally wrong and funny, which same thing happens in Japanese games a lot too, let me tell you. I'd like to see your comments below, game suggestions below, some of your favorite games below, and your favorite J games below. Until next time, I'm Unrested. If you like what you saw here today, please like, comment, and subscribe.